right. What's up, everyone? Happy Monday. We made it through the weekend. We're about to kick off another week. It is, a holiday here in the US. So, we'll talk a little bit about it. Nothing to really kind of get excited about. It's a day of a lot of emotions, and today is going to be full of emotion. So, welcome, everyone. Thank you for being here. Let me go ahead and get my intro out. And we are here for another week. Usually we're sharing powerful stories and experiences to destigmatize and normalize mental health, disability, and trauma, which is something we definitely always talk about. It's a place where I love to share our mayhem, really create opportunities through connections, and encourage acceptance for all of us and all our pieces that we have. So, we're here to kick off a week. I'm your host, DJ, visual descriptor. I'm a female Latina with brunette and silver hair, some streaks. I have olive skin. I have brown eyes. And today I'm wearing red lipstick, big smile, and my red shirt. I always add a trigger warning in my intro. So please sometimes we talk about things that are a little bit difficult and mature in nature. And I always stress that these are our opinions and our experiences that we are talking about. If you're new here, welcome. Please subscribe, follow. I'm multi-streaming, LinkedIn, Twitch, YouTube, Meta, and Twitter. And sometimes I stream on Instagram. Lately, I've been streaming on Instagram. So if you don't know, follow me there, Silver Fox Talks. I would love the support across all my channels. Today, we're live streaming. Thank you to Restream for powering this live tonight. So let's see. I'm going to go ahead and get ready to pull out our guests and get this conversation going. It's been a rough weekend, a rough week. I feel like I have lots of rough weeks, but that's okay. This is what friends are for. We're really celebrating friendships and self-love today. That's why we're here. So I'm excited to really talk about this and have this conversation and learn a lot and grow and just really put myself out there. So this would be a little bit interesting, a little different dynamic than your normal week that I have a guest. So let me introduce our guests, and chat, let me know where you're from, where you're tuning in from. So when our guests come out, we can kind of everybody get to know each other and we'll have that intro. Okay. So today, one of my guests tonight is very special to me. He's a life coach, spiritual coach. He builds and aligns teams. That's his new business. He's an expert in personal and leadership development. And I also have an extra guest. Michael, thank you for inviting Kelly Bryant tonight. She is fantastic. She's a creative and a creator. She was a teacher and she's now a producer. She's intuitive. She's a problem solver and a seer. And I know that she's been on a book. So I can't wait to talk about her, what she's been up to, and really guiding this conversation. I feel like I listen to Michael all the time. So I really want to hear from Kelly tonight. So support me in bringing them out tonight. And there's Michael. There's Kelly. What's up, friends?
Hello.
I'm going to find the way to do this the right way. I promise. But thank you for joining me tonight. Today is a day of self-love. It's love for others, but it's love for ourselves. So that's why we're here tonight. Thank you for guiding us in this conversation. It's so important. Something I struggle with. So
Thanks for having us, DJ.
thank you. All right. Who wants to go first? I know you're both working with aligning teams. So a fantastic new organization that's out there, really supporting other businesses, HR, really empowering corporations, agencies to really take care of their people, right? Really take care of their teams. So I love it, and really aligning them to the human side of. So tell me a little bit more. We'll just start there.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I think, we see an opportunity and a need for, corporations and businesses to really offer that for their employees as a kind of the recognizing the whole person, and not just as the worker bee, and acknowledging that the healthier that you are as a whole person, the better you are as an employee, right? And so encouraging and giving these organizations the tools to be able to support and grow their employees as humans, as people. And so, yeah, that I would say, and Mike, you can kind of add to that vision and mission a little bit. But in general, I think, we're really passionate about having this be kind of an overarching thing, and not just having it, the responsibility land just on the individual, but this is, life is a community effort, right? And so the more that we can, grow that group and that community, the more that we can impact each other and the world.
Yes. What's up, Mike? I saw your mouth move.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just sitting here being silent and looking pretty. Like, I'm enjoying this Valentine's Day. I mean, like, I talk too much, so I'm just enjoying the company.
Thank you. All
It's,
right.
when I look at aligning teams, right, it's all my life's work. Every industry I've worked in, every business I've ever created, everything I've ever built or been a part of. The one thing that really I saw in every industry that was missing was each employee being valued, heard, and seen, right? And what we want to do is really bring a deeper human connection back to the workplace. We all spend so much time at work, such a large percentage of our lives, right? We can say 30%, but that's including sleeping time. So if you include our awake hours, it's well over 50% of the time that we're working. And if we're miserable and we don't feel valued, heard, and seen, then, I mean, how do you think our production is going to be? Like, we want to really drive that home to organizations that it's not as much about salary. It's not as much about benefits, although it is at times. It's really about valuing each individual as a human being, right? And to do that, you need to know what each individual values as a human being. Mm-hmm. So, we want to really reinvent the workplace. Like, this great resignation is just an opportunity to reinvent and reimagine how work should be. And it's not about hybrid. It's not about in person. It's not about working from home. You can do any of those three and still not be valued. Everybody should have a voice. Everybody should be, feel seen, right, for who they are. Sometimes you'll have an employee that just loves sports, and rather than a raise, you send them to a sporting event every once in a while, right, with their family. Sometimes you'll have ones that they have their kids in sports and t-ball and all these other things, or whatever it is, soccer, softball. So you offer to sponsor their team instead of giving them a salary, right? You make it unique so that everybody feels and everybody has that value that we all intrinsically have, that we are reprogrammed from the time that we're a child to believe that we don't. And that's one of my issues with Valentine's Day in general, right? Because we're programmed to think that we need someone. We're programmed to believe that we're not whole on our own. We're programmed to believe that, we can't be happy without a partner. And that's not the truth. The truth is, when we find our happiness for ourselves, we can bring a partner in that enhances that. And then it's a whole different level. I want a partner that understands me on my bad days, that understands me on my good days, wants to pay attention to the little details that can make me smile when I'm crying, right? Or make me cry when I'm smiling, right? Like, I mean,
Right.
know me,
Yeah.
but before I could say that to anybody, I had to understand me first. And it's taken a long time to get there. And Kelly was a huge help in that. Like, Kelly is this amazing self-love guide and intimacy coach and all that other fun stuff.
Yes, I want to talk about that too.
But
Intimacy
for me,
coach.
there was no intimacy until I loved myself. It goes back to the core. Anybody can have physical acts, but how do you really become intimate with yourself and others? That's a whole different level of connection that I was never ready for in life. And I still wouldn't be if it wasn't for Kelly.
Wow. And it's not something we're taught innately anyways. I mean, we're very much not taught to look inward, and unless you are very fortunate to have parents that really understand that, right? And really can look at life with that deeper internal perspective. So that's why we're here. That's why it's something that's important to talk about, and how we find self-love first, and then we can move outward. Kelly, what were you going to
I
share?
love the way you say that, though, too, is that putting the self-love first, because we are taught from a very young age, from the very beginning, love others as yourself, be selfless, all of these things that we're conditioned to put other people first and to love everyone else, and that's the ideal, right? And there's nothing wrong with loving others as yourself, but the key there is, if you don't love yourself, that's the starting point, the number one starting point, and we overlook that, I think, until you get to the point where you're doing the work and you are in therapy or coaching or something, and you're to that point in life where you're actually digging deep and going internal. We forget that it starts with loving me. It starts with figuring out and accepting me. My capacity to love others is limited by my capacity to love myself. And that impacts every single bit of my life. It's every single avenue, be it work, be it personal, be it intimacy. Every single avenue of my life is impacted by the level of which I love and accept myself. And that's something that was really hard for me to learn. But I really believe it's the key to life. I mean, I subscribe to it that strongly, that I just think that's the answer. Grow up, love is the answer, right? Love is all you need. It's self-love. Self-love.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so that love is all you need. That's been a really hard one for me to ever believe. Like, there's just so much more than that. So
self-love.
It's been,
for me, it's if I love myself, then everything else starts to align. Everything else makes sense. Love is the answer. That's only part of it. You're missing a word.
So I want to say something that I just now had an epiphany with, which is why I'm sitting here biting my hand literally, because I don't shut up, anybody who knows me, and I'm trying to. What I realized is I can definitely love somebody else more than I love myself. I do not think that self-love limits my capacity to love, but what it does is it limits my capacity to love somebody in a healthy way, in a healthy dynamic, in a healthy balance, to where it has the potential to be real and long term.
Where there's not codependency, there's not
it's interdependent.
There's not, right? Like,
yeah.
We're all nodding. So true. So true. And it's hard to find that, because there's so many distractions, there's so many expectations, there's so many assumptions, there's so much pressure to behave and act and do and fulfill, quote unquote, these life quotas, these obligations and demands. Okay. I gotta get to the chat, my friends. So let's give a quick shout out. Chat, we did not forget you. Thank you for being here. Mackenzie, I see you all over the place. Thank you for being the best mod ever and sharing and checking the channels and always running. You are up there in the land of ice and snow. Yes, you are. Amanda, what's up? Frozen Michigan, another northerner up there. Good luck, going through the weather. Hopefully this winter hasn't been that bad. Stefan, thank you for hanging out. Thank you for popping by. If you're still here, appreciate you. Thank you for the support, staying strong. I'm hanging in there. I've got great friends in these two. I mean, you can't go wrong if you're surrounding yourself with people like this that really know and understand what's real, what's true, and what's important. So I'm in good hands. I hope you are too. I know you are too. Right? So, all right, Gabe popped over. Thank you, Gabe. I know you haven't been feeling well. I hope you're feeling well. I saw your video. Happy Valentine's Day, my friend.
Ironically, without Gabe, none of the three of us would be here right now.
Thank you, Gabe.
I wouldn't be live at all. DJ definitely wouldn't be live. And Kelly would never have been live if I didn't start forcing her to, the way that Gabe forced me. So You know, it's the truth though. Like Gabe was the impetus of us joining this circus of doing live shows and becoming obsessed with them.
Mm-hmm. Much of the creator influencer. I mean, yes, I got to give him a lot of credit, and I always do. So, and again, another person I mean, has always been there consistently. Just someone that for me felt was as trustworthy and I could just kind of look up to for guidance and stuff. So, I wish all my friends well, and they're also supportive. I mean, Gabe was there on my Instagram earlier today when I was having half of a meltdown. Like, do I have a show? Do I not? These are the things we go through and the pressures and the ups and the downs and the emotions. Anthony, thank you. He was also on my Instagram. So thank you for popping over. We made it. This is what it's all about, consistency. It's really about community, having these conversations, finding ways to have what's important. If it's not one thing, there's always something else that needs to be shared, needs to be talked about. We need to keep moving forward. Mackenzie, thank you for everything you share. Self-understanding is a lot of work in itself, and a lot of people don't want to do it. A lot of people neglect it, shy away from it, avoid it. We stay busy. I had that conversation with Emily Harmon about staying busy, 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 and then just kind of ignoring ourselves. So going right back to that, we can't stay healthy if we're not taking care of ourselves. One more shout out to Juana. Thank you for hanging out and popping over and showing support as always. Rosemary. Hi, Rosemary on Facebook. This is great. Juana, I saw you were on Facebook too. I didn't, but thank you for hanging out, Meta. Trying to get the changing down with the branding. So, LinkedIn user, please share your name. I appreciate it. Joined a little late. You're just on time. You're fine. We're on time. We're supposed to be. So supposed to finish with great so far. All right. Thank you, friends, for letting me give a quick shout out to the chat. It's important that we show love to those that are showing love to us and are really supporting this conversation. If you see anything you want to go for on the comments, we're gonna go for it. But I love this one comment. All right, I probably shouldn't say it, but I can say it, right? Like F expectations, because like I don't deal well, and I shared a little bit about anxiety and like that coming from the stress, the future, right? Like worrying about the future and what and should and could and all that limiting thought. So, Michael, I know we talked about the comparison game earlier today. Another terrible thing that we do, and it takes away from our self-love.
So comparison, right? Like that's something that I always defaulted to. I always went back to. You know, why is this person doing this? Why is this person doing that? Why am I not doing this? What am I doing wrong? What's wrong with me? And it opens this gaping hole of like beating ourselves down, right? And there is nothing positive that comes out of comparison whatsoever. And I lived there for years, like for most of my life, and all it did was make things worse, right? It made me feel worse about every decision I made, made me second guess myself. You know, why am I not good enough? What's wrong with me? Why doesn't it work? And at the end of the day, it's not about me. At the end of the day, all we can do is be our best selves with each moment, and then let everything else just be what it's going to be. If somebody is doing something different and doing better, cheer them on. Because at the end of the day, it's going to come back around, and it might never come back from that person, but it'll come back from 500 others. It's not competition. It's not a comparison game. Like, truth of the matter is, this is, again, I'm going to say this, and I say it all the time, we're one race, the human race. And the only way that the human race is going to bounce back from this hole that we've put ourselves in as a race in general is if we start celebrating each other, we start lifting each other, we start pushing each other to be the best that each of us can be at the moment. I've learned from pushing people too hard. It just seems to be what I do, right? And that's okay too, right? And that goes back to expectations. It's because my self expectations I set so high that then in turn I reflect that to others. And it's something that I've been working on getting better at slowly.
I think we can all, sometimes we see, right, the potential in others. We see the gifts of others that we don't see in ourselves. And I know you have that gift, Michael, in seeing gifts in others. Kelly, you have that gift. I have that gift. And that's hard to say right there. Like, let's be like, I almost just choked on that saying that, right? Like, but again, it has to go back to self-care, self-love, and really taking care of myself, right? And not devaluing myself. Oh, so I mean, it just keeps coming full circle. These conversations continue when you're really doing the work and you're really trying to get to the root. And I always end up the arrows pointing at me.
Yep.
You've got work to do, DJ. You've got work to do. It's not somebody else's work to do. So,
man, that comparison piece. There's so many. I have so many thoughts and so many comments there, but the one that's sticking out the most that has really helped me in this week came out of another live show, and someone said, I believe it was Felicia Miller Johnson, if you know her.
Wonderful.
She was talking about comparison and how recognizing that we're all on our own journey, right? Every one of us is on our own journey, so we have our own path. So if you compare that to, like, if we're running a race on a track and it's a long distance race, right? And it's on a track, so it's circles, right? And so the middle one, theirs is shorter all the way around, right? So they're going to start here. And then the next person might start a little bit closer and a little bit closer. So if I compare myself to somebody else, it's going to look like they're further ahead. But I don't know what their journey is. I don't know what their path looks like. And so it's so unfair to myself and that other person to make any kind of comparison. I don't know what their journey is. I don't know what's ahead of them. I don't really know what's behind them. So when we make those kinds of comparisons, we're being really unfair to ourselves and the person that we're comparing ourselves to. That for me, sometimes all it takes is just that quick shift of perspective to recognize that we all have our own journey. We're on our own path. It's not fair to compare yourself to anyone else.
Yes, that is something we all have to practice to really take care of ourselves, because it's so easy to fall into that.
It is. It is.
And it's so easy to have conversations with others that fuel that, right?
Mhm.
So again, being careful who you're having, who you're really implementing and spending your time with, because that
How you're
really
using your words, right?
so
I have
true.
a course, a free program called 21 Days to Return to Self-Love. And one of the days we talk about reprogramming the word should and how important it is to not use that word with ourselves, and that inner voice that when we should be doing this, I should have done this, I should stop shoulding all over yourself, right?
We should
Stop.
hashtag this. Yeah,
Stop
no, I love
shooting
that. Stop
all
shooting
over
yourself.
Reprogram that word. Your words are powerful. You are a powerful human being. When we start using that word, we're coming from a place of shame. You are shaming yourself by using the word should.
Really?
That is shame. By saying I should be doing this, you are pointing at yourself and saying shame, shame, shame on you. Let's use words of love. Would you speak that way to your best friend or your niece or your daughter? No way. No way. So reprogramming the words that we say, not shaming ourselves, not using words like should, being really careful about the expectations that we have for ourselves. All of those things are forms of self-love.
I've been working on that for years, just because of my overachieving personality, the what is it? The skills we learn, coping skills to kind of fulfill the voids that we have, right? The parts of ourselves that we don't want to deal with, that we want to kind of. So, and then it's not healthy, right? We learn to cope. It's not healthy. So we think, why overachieving in my case? speaking as to that's great, that's healthy, but then the expectations and all that stuff starts to pile on, which drives the anxiety, and it just became a toxic cycle that I had to really look and break and say, okay. And I still work on it. That's why Mike's here. That's why Mike's not going anywhere, because it's a constant. And if it's necessary, we all really, have work that is, we just have parts of us that need attention, and constantly trying to figure it out and navigate.
And even in that, we have to have grace for ourselves and realize that it is a constant process. Life is a healing journey. I will never get to the point where I'm healed, because I'm living, and I'm going to continue to bump and bruise and scrape myself. I'm constantly going to be healing myself every single day, and recognizing and having grace for, like you said, you're saying, I'm having to work on that. I'm still working on that. Well, of course you are. You're alive. You are living. You will be working on these things until you are no longer living. That's life. And how amazing it is that you now have the tools that you didn't have 10 years ago. And you're constantly gaining new tools and constantly learning new ways of coping and dealing with things, right? This is the joy of life, that we get to continue to get better at it, rather than weighing on ourselves and, oh my gosh, I'm still working on this. Oh my gosh, why can't I just love myself? And why can't I just stop having these expectations? Because you're alive. Because you're alive, and you're going to continue doing this. The great part of being alive is that we just get to add to our toolbox every day, and it gets better. Because you're not the kind of person that's going to sit back and just, woe with me. You're going to work on it. You're not the victim. You're going to continue to be working and getting better and growing every single day until you're not alive anymore.
Yes, I agree 100%. It's ongoing. I could go, but Mike, do you want to follow up?
Like, if we really look at this stuff, right? Like, I was having a conversation with Katie today. Katie is a 19-year-old girl who was on Tea with Gary Vee and did a whole bunch of crazy things, skipped the first year of college, went to the Peace Corps, traveled all over the country, saved lives, probably pulled cats out of trees, all the great stuff. Now she's in this traveling university that she goes around the world and is getting her bachelor's degree. Okay. And she's sitting here explaining to me how she wants to accomplish things. And I'm like, you've done more in 19 years than most people in 100. Stop telling yourself you haven't accomplished anything. You're telling me you want to build a business. You just wrote your own ticket to go to school. You're now running the school's social media program. Like, stop telling me that you don't know things. Stop telling yourself, this is something that I've been going around telling everybody I talk to. Understand how wise you are. Because I'm telling you, the fundamental issues that we have in this world that I had in my life is that I always looked at everyone else and said, this person is this. This person is that. These people are wise. I need to learn from them. It wasn't until I started flipping that and really identifying what those things meant to me that I was able to see that I've been through things that nobody would survive, right? And I have wisdom that nobody else has. And Kelly will tell you, I went through it with her. DJ will tell you, I went through it with her. And there's about 30 other people I went through this with. Understand where you're wise. Stop giving credit to everyone else but yourself. This is self-love. Understanding yourself, being self-aware, understanding how you're putting these labels on others without giving yourself the validation. You're always looking, everybody, it's systemic, it's the way that we're raised, it's generational programming, so many of these things, right? It's the education system, which is shit. It's like everything. It's look outside, get this achievement, hit this point in life, graduate from college for the degree that doesn't matter, go get married, have a wife and kids or a husband and kids, Do it in the right order. What's the right order? What is the right order?
Yeah.
And who wants to go spend $250,000 to $500,000 on a degree that they're never going to use anyway? Like, at the end of the day, we need to start teaching our kids, the youth, whoever, to find their own path, to make their own path, to accept themselves first. Thomas has been so sick with anxiety lately, these last few weeks. He's going through spiritual stuff. He's going through emotional stuff. He missed all these days of school in January. It was like, I swear he was home more than he definitely was home more than he wasn't. It was like having like this little mini assistant, but not able to work. And it was like, he's now built up with all this anxiety. Excuse me. And I said to him on Saturday, he goes, "Are you proud of me?" And I said, "I'm always proud of you.
Mm-hmm.
But you need to be proud of you."
Mm-hmm.
Thomas, you have survived at 9.5 years old.
Mm-hmm.
What most adults would never survive. Start being proud of yourself. Start validating to yourself who you are. Don't ask for me to be proud of you. Don't ask for me to love you because I love you no matter what. Love yourself. Stop blaming and shaming yourself. Take the tools that I'm teaching you to deal with your anxiety and use them and apply them. And he has been. He still gets these enormous panic attacks, but it's not as he's starting to work through them better. And I'm sure once he does, he'll find something new to try and do. So it's okay. He is 9.5. But like, it all starts with working on ourselves and understanding it. And for parents or niece or aunts or uncles or whatever it is, older cousins, older siblings, look at the younger ones and say, please validate yourself. Find your own accomplishments. Find even little things. You know, my 4.5-year-old puts on makeup. Sid puts on makeup better than my 12-year-old Michelle. Michelle doesn't like makeup. She's a little tomboy, as she declares. Oh, and she's down here now. What a shock. And, you know, but Sid is actually really good at it. Like, she's really good, other than she puts lipstick on her nose, which I can't figure out why yet. But we'll get there, okay? This takes time. And I'm not good, so I'm not going to get in the way, right? I need an assist. Not sure who, though, but I need an assist. So, you know, but, like, that's an accomplishment for a 4.5-year-old who wouldn't even talk to me 2 years ago, who wouldn't even say I love you to anyone, who didn't even speak, who didn't really function. Like, I mean, this kid has come so far. You know, and everybody at school loves her, all these friends, you know. It very well might be it very well might be, who knows, right? Like, I mean, I remember Back to the Future when I watched it, you know, Back to the Future 2, but when I was a kid and I watched it, you know, I said, wow, look at these idiots and what they're wearing. Well, we're not that far off, actually. I mean, you know, people look like idiots. Like, I mean, who cares, right? Everybody wears what they wear. They're comfortable with themselves. They express themselves how they want. This is our opportunity to shift humanity and recreate this evolution of self-acceptance.
I have a question.
I will not have an answer because I don't talk.
But I mean, okay, so how can we expect? That's such a crap word. How do we educate, share, teach knowledge into self-love and self-care into a child when, and as an adult, we struggle with it ourselves?
Well, I think, yeah, I mean, absolutely. That's a great question. But, like,
right,
just said it. Sid loves herself.
She's
Sid
learning to love herself.
She's herself.
And you're supporting
lipstick on her, right? Sid puts lipstick on her nose. And so as a parent, I would applaud you for that and allowing her to express herself in however she wants to express herself, rather than programming, no, you're not supposed to do that. It's supposed to be this way, right? By you allowing that, allows her to keep that self-love, right? Where with Thomas, you're having to do a little bit of the reprogramming with him. And hey, let's celebrate yourself. celebrate your own accomplishments. You absolutely, I'll give you my support and my validation, but I want you to have it for yourself, right? And so I think Mike just answered the question with the example of his 2 kids, right? Like one of them already is there. As a child, and this is one of the things that I do often with clients and even just in my free 21-day program, we have to go back to that as a kid. When you're a child, you don't know any better than to love yourself. You haven't been programmed yet to have these expectations of, I've got to do this and I've got to be this and I've got to look this way or I've got to compare myself, right? That comes with life experience. We get programmed to be that way through life. But when you're a kid, before you're programmed to do that, you automatically love yourself. You don't know anything different when you're born, right? So I think, Mike, you're the perfect example, right, of answering that question. Well, continue supporting Sid and her craziness and her, things that are not normal and not expected. She loves herself. She's going to do whatever she wants to do.
And she gets up earlier. Sid, you want time to do your makeup in the morning? Yes. Out of bed immediately. Like, it's not even a question, right? Like, why do we feel that we have to fight and control these things?
Yep.
When I say, do you want to get out of bed and go do your makeup before you go to school? She jumps out of bed.
Yep.
Right? Like, and I'm going to put Kelly on blast real quick because Kelly's sitting with her nieces this weekend and sends me a video, right? And she is arguing with her little niece that her niece is magical and her niece is saying no. And Kelly wasn't giving in. As this kid's like tying knots that I swear, like she would have been dragged halfway around the world with these knots because the knot went like 6 feet long. But Kelly wasn't letting it go. Wasn't just appeasing her. Kelly wasn't going to stop until she said yes. And DJ, how do you do it? You do it every day by being the living example for your son.
Yeah.
Your daughter's too far gone. Let's not even talk about her. But you do it. But you show your son every day because you make that effort every day to pay attention to how you're acting. You want to know how my kids have learned? By watching me.
Yes.
They didn't learn in their previous situation. Me putting a foot down for myself. Me making decisions that are for me to protect me and them. They then feel more worthy by me making hard choices, but always prioritizing them. They see their value. By me never looking to miss anything in their life and always putting them first in a way. Yes, self-care is first. I'm not going to say it's not. But beyond that, they are my first priority. But that's also part of me fulfilling my purpose because that helps the next generation understand this world better than I did. Right. And I want to elevate, and I'm going to elevate humanity. It starts within my own house. Yeah. Starts with me, starts with my children, starts with everyone that's in my life. And then it ripples. You want to look at how to love yourself, value yourself. Stop saying this is not a big deal. Stop saying that this doesn't mean anything. Stop saying I can sacrifice this for now. Stop doing those things.
Justifications and rationalizations.
There's every excuse to fall back into things. There's every excuse to make something that goes against yourself. There's every excuse to choose convenience, what's easy, what others expect you to do. I did it my whole life.
What feels good?
Yeah. Today.
It does. It's instant gratification.
Today. What feels good today right now?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It'll make me feel better right now.
Right. It's instant gratification, but then you go home empty. It's always empty because you're not full. That's my next soapbox.
It's good. It's good. It's needed though. This is important. Again, it's every time, all the conversations, it really is about yourself, who you are. And even when I talk about disability and mental health and trauma in that sense, when we always end up that it's how you're going to move forward and how you're going to perceive what happened and how you're going to get through it and the decisions that you make and not letting all those external and really like letting yourself go through all that you're going through and giving yourself self-compassion and grace, like you said earlier, Kelly. So, yes. Hmm.
Another thing I love about the whole self-love and comparison thing. One of my teachers taught me early on that when we see just to remember that everyone's a mirror, basically. Everyone is a mirror. And so if I see something in someone that I'm comparing myself to and judging in a way that I wish I was this way, if they're a mirror for me, right? If truly everyone is a mirror, if we subscribe to that theory, then there's something in them that I ascribe to be, that maybe I am in my highest self, right? That rather than judging and shaming myself, I can look at that and go, oh, that's me. Instead of comparing, look at them and say, oh, that's me in 5 years or 10 years or whatever, right? Or in a month, instead of comparing and judging, we get to look at that person in admiration and say, oh, I'm seeing this person. That comparison can be a trigger to you to recognize, wait, if they're my mirror, then that's just me a little bit down the road. If I'm wanting to compare myself to that person, that's because higher self me is saying, hey, look, this is you, right?
Oh.
Which I loved. I thought was such a cool little trick to reprogram again, like all
No,
these
that's
little
excellent.
things
Yeah,
are
no,
just
and
little tricks.
I've never heard of that. So I'm really just really trying to figure out where that reflection is, right? What
Yeah.
that point of reflection
What
is, what
is
that
it
connection
specifically?
is.
Yeah, what is it specifically about that person that's like, oh, wait a second. Like, I'm comparing because I'm shaming myself and I wish I was there, but I'm comparing for a reason, right? Like there's something there rather than dismissing. I think we get so in this community of self-care and doing the work and, in therapy and coaching, we sometimes are so quick to just dismiss anytime we do something that we would say is negative, right? Oh, I'm comparing, stop comparing. Or, oh, I'm shooting myself, stop shooting myself, rather than saying, hold on, wait a second, why am I doing this? What is this trying to tell me, right? When somebody's like totally annoying me and I just want to like shut them out, rather than shutting them out, it's a moment for me to say, okay, hold on, what is it in this person that is, if everyone's a mirror, what is it in this person that I'm not loving and accepting? And is there something in myself that I need to look at? So whatever it is, instead of shutting things down when we get to that negative place, reflect. Why am I comparing myself to this person? Oh, that's because I want to be this and I will be this. Again, with the intentional words. Just I want to be this, I'm going to be this. I'm on my way to this. My highest self, my whatever version of me is this. I don't know. It just is a really, I'm always looking for those little tricks to reprogram the way I speak to myself and the way I think and the way I manifest things. That is one that's really helpful to me.
I'm gonna have to learn about that.
I think the other side of that is you really don't know what someone is or going through, right? Like things on the surface appear what they are, right? Like you really don't know what's going on, right? Like, it's great. I mean, I did, God, in 2020, I must have done 100 live shows. I think for the year, I made $36,000 during COVID. Like, it's not like me being present every day, me being in everyone's face made me this absorbent amount of money. And no, it just made me everywhere, right? And like talking about all different topics and, running my mouth in many ways as I was still learning. And that's okay because I don't mind sharing my evolution process. I'm okay living in that transparency and changing my mind over time through experience. Like there's growth and evolution and we're always evolving. But, that's another dangerous part of comparison because we don't know what's really going on with people. Life is hard. Life is very difficult at times, but we also have a choice on how we handle it, right? So rather than comparing ourselves at all, look where we were a week ago, 6 months ago, a year ago. We are our only competition. There is no other competition in this world.
It's
My
celebrating
competition,
yourself piece, yeah.
yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
no. And that's nice. I love that because it brings you to the present and it makes you say, okay, I mean, then you're putting it on you and comparing it to yourself. Like where I was 2 months ago, 3 months ago is so different from where I am today. So in that sense, there's been a lot of success. There's been a lot of wins. There's been a lot to celebrate for myself. But then it's, as soon as you start seeing, and Michael, we had this conversation too about the titles and like the deception, right? Like you feel like you're supposed to have like 5, 6 titles. So really having to succumb and submit yourself to these expectations constantly, even if it's almost not that direct, right? Like it's not overly direct like pressure, but it's still like this loomingness of like, oh, these expectations that you have to fulfill. So, and it's been hard with the titles, but yeah, letting all that go and just finding a place of like self and going back to, whew.
DJ, I got news for you. If you learn to
What?
just be you, you'll never disappoint yourself. That's it. There's nothing else you can be. So, like, just be you. Like,
Just be you.
there's no adjectives to describe DJ. She's DJ.
Right.
She's unique. She's one of a kind. There's no other one in this universe ever that existed. Same for Kelly. Same for me. That's all we are, is who we are. We don't need to be anyone else. We just need to believe in ourselves. And that's when the shift and the magic happens. That's when we can move into living in such an inspired, happy way that it's infectious for others. When we find our definitive purpose, when we find our reason for being, and it aligns with what we do every day, day in and day out, it radiates at such a high level that it can't help. It can't even, like, it can't help but help people, because it's all you're doing. That's all your intent is, just to be you. You don't need to be anyone else. We don't need to be titles. 2 years ago, it was I started a company. Oh man, I had to be CEO. That's it. I had to be CEO and founder. Now, what nobody knew was that I was CEO, CFO, CSO, VP, treasurer, and garbage man, all at the same time. Why did I have to put CEO? Because it was an ego thing. The new company, Aligning Teams, there is no roles. We're all co-founders. We have no titles because there's no room for ego. We're working in a divine purpose. We're working in a divine presence. We are truly aligning ourselves within aligning teams. So we don't have that need to seek that title. We just want to seek impact, because that's what matters. I'll shut up again.
No, that's great. And like, that's powerful. So, I mean, it needs to be said, and I love it. So I appreciate that. Thank you, Michael. Always on point. I'm blown away. Y'all know how much I appreciate like these kinds of conversations. And I don't have to get to have these kinds of conversations. And like you just said, you were saying having these, Kelly, you were too, having these kinds of conversations a lot more openly on lives last year. And things change, like lives change, priorities change, the flow. Michael, your word of the year, flow. So I love that. But yeah, I'm trying to turn that flow inward and not like outward.
Yeah, what you said about titles really resonates with me. Not because specifically I'm looking for titles, but we set these expectations for ourselves, and we struggle with, maybe it's imposter syndrome, or where we think, if I just have this, and this, then I'll make it. Then I'll be successful, and then I'll be happy with myself. For me, it's the certifications. I'm always chasing a degree or a certification, some justification that like I'm qualified to do what I do, which is silly. I'm doing it. I'm qualified. I'm certified. What other certification do I need, right? It's that love and acceptance of ourselves that we don't need that external validation from anybody else. I don't need the title to prove to anybody else that I am qualified to do what I do. Have one conversation with me and you will know that I'm qualified to do what I do. But it's something that Mike has really helped me with, really helped me with, recognizing that I don't have to have a list of certifications to prove to people that I'm good at doing what I'm doing. And I've had several coaches say to me, just do it. Just do it. Coaches and teachers say to me, you're gifted. You need to do what you're doing. Just go out there and do it. So I want to encourage you, if we're mirrors for each other, what you said about titles really resonated with me. And so there's I'm all about energy. There's a reason for that. Okay. You said that to me and it resonated. And so I have to say to you, this is where I am. And I still, like you said, you said earlier, I struggle with this. Yeah, it's a thing. I'm constantly telling myself every time I get an email about a new certification and it's only $1,000 in 5 weeks. Every time I want to push the button and be like, yeah, I need that one. Every time I hear this voice that says, you are doing what you're doing. Now, if it's a new skill or something that I want to learn, I really need, then sure. But I don't need another certification, another title to prove to anyone that I'm good at what I do. You have a gift, DJ. You do not need another title to prove to the world that you have a gift. I'm saying that to you as my mirror. We're mirrors for each other right now, right? Reminding myself, I don't need one more certification to prove to the world that I'm good at what I do, that this is my purpose on this planet.
Thank you. It's true, because I'm chasing a certification as we speak. I'm like about to like, do I do it? Do I need it? I need it for podcast. I'm going to talk about this. I need to have the certification before I get there. I want to make sure I have it. Oh, so yes, girl. That message is so very deeply connected and intentional and heard, understood and accepted. Good.
I need to be reminded of it today too, because I almost pushed that button earlier today.
So we got to love ourselves in the state that we're in as we are. It's always, we talk about growth and development. It's so important. Yes. But then I think it kind of takes away from saying I'm okay the way I'm at right now. And I don't need to feel the force to change and grow and develop in such a forceful way. And a disingenuous way, like
it's where is it coming from? Where is it coming from? Is it coming from the true desire to grow, or is it coming from the desire to prove yourself? If it's a true desire to grow and develop, sure, do it. If that's a desire that you have and it feels right, it aligns and you intuitively want to do it, that makes sense. But for the most part, more often than not, for me, it comes from the desire to prove myself. And that doesn't align. I need to stop.
That's a great takeaway.
Yeah.
That's a great one. That's a good question to ask yourself.
Thank you for this. The proof is in the pudding, not the paper. Whoever said that.
And Mackenzie.
It always comes back to outside versus inside validation, right? Are you doing it to truly learn a new skill that you can't go teach yourself on a YouTube tutorial? But you feel better getting a piece of paper that somebody else validated that you know the information.
Yeah.
And this is all part of that rewiring and reprogramming, and a huge part of it. Luckily, when it came to educating myself, I never cared about that, obviously. But it's, you know, the only reason I got my GED is because I needed it for my Series 7. Like, I still wouldn't have it if I didn't need it for my Series 7. And I almost had my Series 7 before my GED. I just, you know, like, the whole thing is, but I also had other ways to try and prove myself, right? Like, mine was my tax return, or the money that I made that I didn't put on my tax return at that time, right? Like, you know, it was always about flashy things. You know, I want things to prove to people. I want things to show people I have a value. I want to pay for everybody to go out and drink. I want to pay for everybody's drugs for the weekend. You know, it was always about proving. I want to go to the strip club and have the most strippers. I want to go and do all these things and buy bottles for famous people and, you know, do all these crazy things to put myself in these very strange situations. It was all just to try and prove my worth to others. And at the end of the day, I felt worse about myself. You know, I want to be in a relationship to prove that I have a value. Well, who are you proving it to? Like, I was always chasing. I can't be alone. I can't be alone. I don't want it anymore. I like my peace. I really am enjoying my peace. Now, does that mean that there aren't patterns and behaviors that kick in that sometimes I get caught up in? Yes, there are. But now I live in self-awareness and I'm able to come back from it faster. And I'm okay taking that initial, you know, pain, ting, whatever it is, to be self-aware, to hurt a little, and overcome it sooner rather than later. Because I like delayed gratification. Things are much better when you push it back. The process is, I like the process today. I'm okay with the process. Whatever it is, like business, personal, anything. Even working with my kids, like, it's tedious, it's hard, it's a slow grind process. But man, the difference in my kids compared to even 6 months ago, like, it's almost, they're not even recognizable. Like, you know, it's unbelievable. And that's what really matters. That's the difference. That's where you want to find value. Do that within yourself. Figure out how you're wise. Which my definition of wisdom, which is just mine, is any experience that you apply knowledge to, you become wise with it. So if anyone in the audience wants to beat the shit out of themselves, try this instead. Make a list of things that you've experienced, that you've applied knowledge to, that makes you wise. And it doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to be huge, or it could be. But I got to tell you, when you start believing that you're wise in areas, it really starts shifting how you look at yourself.
I wrote my list. I do go back to it. And I struggled writing the list. It was hard.
Well, same.
Yep.
I've done that exercise.
I did too at first. But once I started getting into the groove of it, I mean, now there's like 30 or 40 things. And they might not seem like big deals to anyone else, truthfully.
Yeah.
But what I noticed is these are things that I used to look outward for rather than asking myself for my solution.
Yeah.
And it's made me shut up a lot more. It's kind of impressive.
It's huge. I mean, I just feel like, yeah, really being cognizant of the externals. Those external forces and pressures, just so.
And they're all self-created.
Self-love, self-love, self-love. This is not easy, and this could go on. I know this conversation is just never ending. It's constant. So I want to thank you for that, for all these like bits of wisdom and how we can work towards improving our self-love and maintaining our value, retaining our value, that we work so hard and then it's so easily to give, we easily give it away. We like,
Yep.
I know I do that. And I got my saboteurs. So, I know it's really like knowing, being aware. Mm. All right, friends. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Kelly, do you have anything you want to finish up with? Michael, let you gather your thoughts. Let me go to the chat real quick, because Mackenzie's always helpful with the comments and always checking in. My titles are just a conceptual way to describe what I do. It's a facet of something more. So I love that. Because it's what we do. And I think that it's really your actions, your behavior. I've talked about that in like different streams, and it's just like, we can say we're this and we're that, but it's really what we're showing, what people see, what we demonstrate. LinkedIn user Jamie, I think if that's you still there, we're constantly told to shorten the resume in so many ways, but that causes us to eliminate so many wins from our past that are so very important in who we are. So I appreciate that comment. Yeah, wisdom. Socrates, thank you. Wisdom is knowing that you know nothing. So, I do trying to constantly work on those bits and pieces of myself, and really always working on my self-love, encouraging others to love others, love ourselves. I'm struggling with the word love because it's not a word that I usually lean into and I use a lot, but it's a word that was really introduced to me through Dorothy and poetry and emotions, and not being so scared of that word, just because it can mean so much. And well, probably overthinking a lot of it, right? Overthinking and not really just who does that? Me? No. But overthinking it and now really just kind of understanding it and the capacity and the power of it and that language and in that word. So really using that word more, not only for others, but for myself too.
I would say to end on, I would just want to end on the fact that this is a constant process, that self-love is a daily practice, and that it's something that you have to consciously do. You want to form that habit of loving on yourself every day. And there's lots of ways to do that, but just to consciously show yourself love in the way that you would want a partner to show you love. There's so many different ways to do that, but I think if I were to sum it up, the key to learning to love yourself is to start with one little thing every day. We form a habit by daily doing small little things. Small habits.
I'm reading that book, Atomic Habits. So
Yep.
I'm on it. But yeah, small changes now, big change later.
Yep.
We'll see it. But yeah, it's focusing on self-love in the sense where we're talking about changes to really promote our own self-love. Thank you, Kelly. You're amazing. So full of like wise wisdom and just empowerment. I love, you inspire me and just bring always so much tenderness to the conversation. And I love that. Michael, I can't really say the same about you. You're definitely more of a sharp blade.
We balance each other. Good.
He likes to draw blood. But it's all good. It's all good. And I know both of you come from such an amazing place, and really look forward to more conversations in 2022 aside from here. But Mike, I talk to you a lot, but Kelly, I really want to talk to you more. I really appreciate you and what you do, and I watch you on Instagram and all the other projects, and I wish we could have talked more about your projects, but at least thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and your loving thoughts.
This was great. Let's do it again.
Yeah. Alrighty, Michael.
I am glad and in love with the fact that the heater is working again.
Yay.
And when it's not 44 or 46 degrees in the house anymore. It's a very large victory that I am proud of. It took less than 24 hours to fix. And it was a broken on-off switch.
Wow.
You cannot make these things up.
Well, stay warm tonight. Stay warm, and hopefully, things will continue to get better, because I know you're going through some stuff.
Life is
But
life.
all right, friends, connect with Michael, connect with Kelly. They're available. They're sources of wisdom and light and love. And if they haven't proved that today, I don't know how we can, we're going to have to go another hour or two to just continue to show their magic. So, all right, my friends, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. Let me get my outro out. If I can find it. But it's tired. It's been a long day. Hope everyone had a great day of friendship and family, and surrounded by showing love to each other and ourselves, right? Because that's what today was all about, ourselves. All right. I guess we'll just wave and say goodbye, everyone. Goodbye. Thank you. And good night.
Bye.